So lovely to meet you all, and thanks for coming, and nice to see some friendly faces in the audience and meet new people too. So we're going to cover quite a bit today, and it's going to be an interactive session. I'm going to get you to do some self-coaching, which involves a bit of writing and drawing yourself. I've got pens and paper if you didn't bring anything with you. So we're going to talk a little bit about my journey and why coaching makes a difference, what is wellness, and then what is wellness coaching, how you can improve your well-being with self-coaching, what factors influence wellness, personal challenges that you may have come up, strategies to enhance your wellness, measuring wellness, and then future trends and tech wearables that you can use in self-coaching. So we're going to cover quite a lot. If you've got any questions as we go along, please do ask me, or you might want to save them for the break. So a little bit about me. My name's Jo Permaul, and I am a full member of the UK International Health Coaches Association, which means I coach people about their health. I'm also a member of the Association for Coaching, and a member of the Complementary Medical Association, and a registered homeopath as well. So those are my credentials that mean I can start here and talk to you about coaching. I'm hugely passionate about coaching and alternative health, and that comes from me within a life that has led me down this road. It wasn't something I thought at the age of 18 I'm going to do. It was a path that took me on, and I think a lot of people in well-being have that experience, don't they? So a few things about my journey which may resonate with you. When I was a child, I was somebody who suffered with a lot of allergies. I was allergic to pretty much everything: cats, dogs, dust, birds, going to other people's houses. All of those things used to make me come up in like anaphylactic shocks, hives, eczema, asthma. It was really difficult as a child to know what to do and how to behave, but it was really frustrating for my mum, who would watch me suffer. And she took me to the doctor lots, and I tried every drug going, all the steroids, all the inhalers, all the injections, all the creams and potions and lotions, and nothing worked. And then when I got to 13, my mum met somebody who said, "Why don't you take her to a homeopath?" And she said, "Well, I don't even know what one is." So we went to a homeopath, and from that moment, at the age of 13, my life changed completely. Within a few months, I didn't have any of the symptoms that I'd had for the whole of my life before. So it was kind of like a eureka moment in my journey. I didn't really understand much about it at the age of 13. I just knew that it was something that had changed my life, and I was, like any other 13, I was probably more interested in watching Neighbours on TV and, hanging out with my friends. So it was, a groundbreaking moment. But, things were difficult, and I used to just spend a lot of time itching and scratching as a child. But things changed. When I was in my late 20s and I had my child, my first child, she presented with the same issues that I had. She had eczema and allergies, and I took her to see a homeopath, and that was a step for her in a journey. And I didn't want her to experience the same things that I had as a child. So that was a moment of enlightenment. When I was in my 30s, I had trained to be a teacher, and I reached a point of burnout within teaching, as I'm sure if any of you have ever worked in it, that might resonate with you. Also at a similar time, I discovered that I had melanoma as well, and I've turned back to homeopathy for myself, not just for my children, but for myself. And it began this real moment of kind of, this is something I'm really fascinated in. I'm really interested in that mind-body connection and how things influence others. And then from that moment, I thought, I want to retrain as a homeopath. So it wasn't until my mid-30s, even though I'd had that lovely experience with it through my life. So I retrained as a homeopath, but not just any type of homeopath. I became a shamanic homeopath. And I found this course that was out there that covered homeopathy in terms of being an eclectic mix of looking at Eastern medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, looking at astrology, bringing all the things into homeopathy that weren't just homeopathic tablets, but the whole holistic effect of it. And I loved my studies. It was such a brilliant course. It opened my eyes up to so many different things. One thing it opened me up to was acupuncture, and how acupuncture and homeopathy work well together because they're both energy medicines. And so I always encourage people that I work with to try and mix and match modalities, because it's not necessarily what you're using, but it may be the healer that is the person you're meant to work with. So that's something that I've stuck with, and for the last 20 odd years I've used acupuncture personally myself. I also studied tarot and ran tarot teaching classes, so I was again very interested in the whole sort of mind, body, spirit, and how your spiritual health affects your physical health, which affects your emotional health. So everything was connected, and again that's been a learning journey that I've totally enjoyed. I started practicing homeopathy about 16 years ago, and for me there was one thing missing. I loved how the remedies worked with my patients, but I felt there needed to be mindset work, because a lot of people that we're working with, particularly teenagers, and I did find out at that time I was working with a lot of teenagers because having a background as a secondary school teacher, that if I could give them activities to do that they could take away, and they could start reflecting on how they behaved and their own personal responsibility, it meant that they would feel more empowered. So they weren't just having the remedies, they were having the coaching and using these techniques to really think about what they could do and how they could empower themselves, how they could take action within their own life. So I added coaching in, and I qualified as a holistic life coach. That was a good time, yeah, have a drink of water. So I began to integrate homeopathy and coaching together in my practice, and I just saw some really interesting effects of that. People who had anxiety, who they take the remedies, but then they do the coaching, and they had these techniques then and strategies for every time they were in an anxious situation, they could run through an activity and really improve themselves. And so I wrote about it in an academic journal, in the Homeopathy in Practice magazine, and I also wrote about integrating coaching into other complementary therapies, so with Reiki or acupuncture, in nursing or in the GP practice. And so these two articles, you can read them on my website if you're interested, but I really think coaching works well with all healing modalities. Even if it's just one question that you give a client, if you're a practitioner yourself, you give them a question and they go away and reflect on it, or indeed as a client yourself, having that time and space to really reflect, because coaching questions are about empowering you. And at the end of the day, my kind of core belief from my own healing journey is that you are empowered and you are responsible for your own health and well-being, rather than leaving it up to somebody just telling you to take this drug, telling you to have that procedure. That's not a two-way experience. What's two-way is when you actively engage in what you're doing. So very much that's part of my training. And then following sort of my passion for doing these two things together, I started working at the school that I trained in coaching. So I did some teaching for them, and then 3.5 years I took over the school that I run called Wellness Professionals at Work, and I deliver courses in coaching training skills as well. So that's my experience. So the first thing I'd like you to just think about is what actually is wellness. And you might just want to take 30 seconds to yourself and think, what does wellness actually mean? I'm not asking you to share it out or shout it out or anything. I just want you to think about what it actually means to you, because it means something different to everybody within this room. It's very personal, and so just hold on to that thought. Hopefully you've all got something in your mind. I'm going to talk you through, but for this I need to put my glasses on. So So wellness is divided into 8 subcategories, which hopefully you can read up there, but I'm going to talk you through them. The first one is emotional wellness, and that is coping effectively with life and creating satisfying relationships. So that may be your family, that may be with your animals or your pets, it may be in a love relationship, but it's all about the emotions. The second part of wellness is about spiritual wellness. So expanding our sense of purpose and meaning in life. For some people that might mean religion, it might be something larger than you, whether that's nature, okay? But it's about having that spiritual well-being. The third type of wellness, intellectual wellness, that is recognising creative abilities and finding ways to expand your knowledge and skills. So something like coming along today is expanding your intellectual wellness. Maybe it might be reading books, learning new skills, hobbies, or studying. The fourth type of wellness is physical wellness, and that is recognising the need for physical activity, diet, sleep, and nutrition. So for some people it might be a daily practice like running, yoga, cycling, doing your 10,000 steps, or challenge with a marathon or something like that. For another aspect of wellness is environmental wellness. So visiting parks, gardens, maybe you go to Trent Park often, or you go to have a walk along the waterway. But good health by occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support your well-being. The next aspect of wellness is financial wellness, and that is satisfaction with current and future financial situations. So it says satisfied, okay, there, okay, so you don't have to be wealthy, but it's the idea that you're satisfied, so you're not struggling, okay. And the last the seventh area is occupational wellness. So personal satisfaction and enrichment derived from your work. So having a purpose, whether that's paid employment, voluntary work, running a club or society. And then the last area is social wellness. Developing a sense of connection, belonging, and a well-developed support system. So that could be something like going to the gym, going to a club, belong to a neighbourhood group, and being part of a community. So all of those 8 areas are what wellness is, okay? Did any of those surprise any of you when we looked through those? Okay. Well, we're going to explore that because I'm going to get you to do an activity in a little while. But before we do that, I want you to just think about your wellness journey isn't linear. And what I mean by that is you don't suddenly get well, you're not ill one day, then you're well the next, and then you're never ill again. I'm sure you recognise that about yourself. Everyone in this room has issues, whether that's stress, childbirth, whether you have cancer, or people have had cancer, or you're having a child, or you're pregnant, or you're doing exams, or whatever. All of our journeys are non-linear based on life experiences. So wellness is a constant state that we need to lean into and always work with. There's always in flux, always moving, and always shifting. So I'd like you to just reflect on something and just think about a time when you felt really well, okay? It might be today, it might be while the sun was shining and you felt really well sitting there. I know I did while I was sitting in my garden having a cup of tea earlier. But I also know there are times where I felt really unwell, and I'm sure for you, you have an experience of that yourself as well. Maybe it was in childhood like myself, or during adulthood, or even last week you may have had a cough or cold and you felt unwell. But these are all things that affect our wellness. Okay. So we're going to do an activity, a coaching activity to help you improve your well-being, and it's called the Wheel of Life. Now, I know some of you are organised and have got pens and paper. I have got some paper if anybody doesn't have any, and I've also got some pens. So put your hand up if you'd like some paper, okay? And I've also got some pens. Can I ask you to give the pens out, and I'll go and do the paper. There you go. I give you. Oh, there's a couple of sheets there if you want to pass them behind. Oh yeah. Go on, there you
My
go.
zipper, I was trying to fix my zipper.
Oh, sorry. Oh yeah, Tim will come with a pen, and there, I'll just give you some paper there and you can show it out. Okay, so the reason I'm getting you to do some activities is because, for one, I want you to repeat these activities when you're not in this room. I've got more pens if you need them. So what I'm going to get you to do is just roughly draw a circle on your sheet, okay? And with your circle, I would like you. Have you got pen? Pardon, that doesn't matter how big it is. Do it as big as you want. No. Just need the circle, and you're going to divide your circle into 8 slices of pizza. Okay, so they don't have to be even or anything. Just divide it into 8 slices of pizza. And I'm just going to explain what I want you to do, and then I'm going to show you a picture of what one looks like when someone's done the activity. So each of those areas is going to represent one of the areas on the bottom. So one's going to be your physical health, one's going to be your social connection, one's going to be finances, one's going to be occupational well-being, one's going to be spirituality, one's going to be romance, and one's going to be mental health. So 8 areas that you're going to give a number to. So here's an example of one that's been done earlier. And what I'd like you to just sit and think on is, how do you rate that area of your life as of this moment? So for example, if you feel like you're in like your well-being, you're one of the areas you feel like you're 10, just give it a number 10, or give it a 10. If you feel like that area is really low, then it's going to, actually I'm going to go back to this one. If you feel it's low, give it a 1. But I want you to give each of those areas a score out of 10. Okay? Any questions?
Yeah, so I can't read from back here.
Okay.
Which segment's which?
So it doesn't matter which order they go in, okay? But as long as you've got physical health, your social connection, finances, occupation, so if you do a job or if you're retired, how you feel about that, how you feel about your spirituality, romance or relationships, and then your mental health. Okay? And like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've read out 7. I've missed one off, haven't I? That was physical health. Thank you. Physical, yeah, physical health. Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's 7, that's a little leaves a surprise one for you to put something else down. Okay, so give yourself a score of how you feel about yourself in that area, and write it down.
What,
okay.
In the circle?
Yeah, in the circle.
Anyway.
Yeah. Now this is an activity that, if you enjoy doing this kind of reflection, you can go very easily onto Pinterest or onto Google and just search Wheel of Life, and you can print these off and do them often. Okay, it's just a nice way of checking in with yourself. So I'm going to just go to the next screen, because when you fill that out, I'd like you to just think about these questions. What do you notice? So maybe you might notice that there's one area in your life that is much higher than another area. Maybe there might be one area that is much lower than another area, okay? Maybe something surprises you, where you feel like, oh, I didn't realise I felt that good about this, or actually that surprises me because it's just middle of the road, and actually I'd like it to be higher. Okay? And when you think about all these areas in your life that are going on, which one of these areas might you like to focus on? Okay? So for some people, they think, actually, because I've given myself a low score in the financial health, I'd like to just focus on my financial well-being, or my physical health is not as positive as perhaps I'd like it to be, so I'm going to focus on my physical health. So this is a really simple self-coaching activity that I know a lot of people like to do on a monthly basis, because it allows them to just check in with themselves and really kind of have that sense of self-responsibility about areas. But I'm going to ask you this question, and I need a participant for this. So do I have a volunteer? Thank you very much. So which one of those areas would you just like to tell me what score you gave yourself?
Health.
Okay, your physical health.
Physical.
Okay, and what did you give yourself?
I gave myself a 6.
A 6. Okay, so that's a really realistic kind of assessment of yourself, and you came up with a 6. So I'd just like to ask you, if you wanted it to be an 8, what would you have to do to go from a 6 to an 8?
In my case, I think I will step up with my cycling.
Okay, great.
Eat healthily.
Yep.
All the right foods. I don't smoke, but drink less.
Okay.
Meditate. Breath work.
Brilliant. So you've recognised that there's room for improvement, and you can do some things to get to an 8. If I said to you, well, what would a 10 look like? What would the 10 look like for you?
10 would be me not having any pain, being able to move freely, being able to travel and cycle and not feel any pain.
Yeah, okay. So that's really kind of like the gold standard of your health, is to be pain-free and to do all of those things. Okay. I'd like to just turn to the person next to you and just pick an area on your wheel and just ask them similar questions about one of those areas on their diagram. Okay? Okay, we'll just come back together. All right, should we just come back together? If you just want to turn back to the front. Thank you. Okay. I know, I need a little bell, don't I? That's one thing I didn't bring. Okay, thank you. Right, let's come back into the room. So there'll be time in the break to carry on your conversation about this, because I know it's like you get started. And see, this is like the powerful thing with coaching, is that once you really delve into your own well-being, you realise actually there's a lot more to it than just saying I'm fine, okay? There's a lot to our health. There's all of those aspects that we can look at when we consider our well-being. Now, because I work with a lot of clients and do a lot of coaching, and I work with a lot of students as well, a lot of people find that it's really useful to do an activity like this, like I said, on a weekly or a monthly basis. So they print them off and they work through them and really kind of keep checking in with themselves to do that. And it's a really nice visual activity. I know some people like colouring in and sort of making the most of it. So do with this what you will. But was there anything about this activity that surprised anybody?
Well, I don't think you could ever achieve 10 in all the aspects.
Yeah.
I think they will fluctuate.
Yeah.
Circumstances.
Yeah.
So I think therefore you would have to try and achieve an optimum.
Yes.
Optimum balance
Yeah.
between them.
Yeah.
I would envisage that circle actually becoming all along or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it shifts and change.
You can never achieve a 10 in every aspect. If you did, you'd be perfect.
Well, and who is? Let's say, who is perfect? And I think you've hit on a really important point there, that we're cyclical human beings. We all sort of ebb and flow depending on your gender. If you're female, then you have your monthly cycles. We have weekly cycles. We have daily cycles. So health really is, like I said, non-linear, and it's something that we constantly need to check in on. Yeah.
I'm thinking, as long as your wheel is almost circular, even if it's 5, 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah.
But if you have a rating like that, what kind of ride would you have if you're on a bike with that wheel? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. It'd be very bumpy, wouldn't it?
Very bumpy. Like
Yeah, it would. No, and that's why I want to try and have things in balance. But we all know that life doesn't happen like that, don't we? It doesn't happen. You can feel physically well, but financially unwell. You can, have, a good physical health and then a bad social life. So, these things, they constantly go. So we're all works in progress, and that's why coaching, I think, is a really powerful tool. Okay, so before the break, I just want to look at why we need wellness coaching, and there are lots of reasons. One is because you might not want to wait for a doctor's appointment. We all know how difficult it is now to get a GP appointment or a dental appointment. So actually talking to a health coach is a really effective way for you to sort of take responsibility for that yourself while you're waiting. Some people don't want to discuss issues with their GP, and they find things really challenging to talk about. Or they may not want to say to their GP about their finances or their their sort of romantic relationships. So again, it gives that space to do that. Some people don't want to have a pharmaceutical intervention within their their physical health or their general well-being, so they want to try and problem solve themselves. A lot of people I work with who are into alternative and complementary health actually are very responsible people who want to work out why they are behaving the way they are. A lot of people want to have more time than the 5 minutes that they get with their GP, and health coaches tend to work for a good 50 minutes plus with a client, so that really gives you time to explore things. In fact, one of my success stories is that one of our students who's a nurse, she managed to get her community practice to go from 5-minute appointments to 20-minute appointments because she trained as a coach, which I see as being a huge success, because 20 minutes with a client, you can do some really good work with somebody. It may be that they want an eclectic approach to their healthcare, and that's great. As I talked, I like to integrate homeopathy and acupuncture and coaching, but other people like to do different things, different mix and match. Also, you'll find if you work with a health or wellness coach that you can come at a time that suits you rather than having to get that 8 o'clock phone call to get your appointment and all those kind of things. And then other people just don't want the formality of the NHS, so they're switching more to working with health and wellness coaches now. And if that's something you're interested in, then do speak to me about it, and I'll tell you how to be signposted onto them. Okay? So before we do some more activities, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what might influence your wellness. So it could be we all have individual choices that we make, and they're due to our habits or behaviours and how motivated and how disciplined we are. So you may notice that sometimes of the year or sometimes of the day you're more motivated to do things than other times. And then it could be external factors like socioeconomic status, so how rich or poor people are, how much access people have to healthcare and education, and then also cultural and social influences all influence our wellness as well. So those are things we can take into account. Barriers that we might have to wellness could be personal challenges, and I know from conversations I've just had in the break, is that sometimes we have a lack of time, a lack of knowledge, or a lack of resources in order to kind of inspire us to make changes with our own well-being. And it may be that there are systemic issues such as inequities within healthcare. So you may live in an area where it's very hard to get a GP appointment, or you may not have access to private healthcare because of your own financial well-being. So that will affect your wellness. And then also the environment that some people live in, whether it's overpopulated or things that stress out society. So there are lots of different things that stop people from improving their wellness. But what we can do is we can adopt healthy habits, so do regular activities and physical activities, do mindfulness. We can have better support systems, and we can build those ourselves. And we can also sort of try to embrace the change and personal growth, within us, and advocate for social action. So activities in groups like this are great because they encourage us to really think about wellness. So these are just a few things to kind of get you thinking about your own wellness. When you see somebody, you only see the tip of the iceberg, okay? You only see someone's state from the way that they look and present themselves. However, there's lots going on under the surface. It may be to do with their lifestyle and behaviour. We don't know about what other people get up to. We don't know about someone's psychological and motivational level just by looking at them. We don't know about someone's spiritual or their sort of purpose in life, because we don't ask those questions on a superficial level. So there are lots of things that affect our state of health. So when we do some coaching, we can really dig in to what's going on underneath the iceberg, because we're not just how we present. So I like to use coaching to improve mental health. I think it's a really effective tool, and mental health is an area that is so important. You may recognise some of these experiences within yourself. So maybe you've felt overwhelmed before. Maybe you feel like you can't make a decision. You might people please. You might just say yes to everything because it's easier to do that. Maybe you're someone who's suffered with low self-esteem, or you're unclear of expectations that are asked upon you, or have a lack of clarity about what a task is that you've been asked, or perhaps you're someone who feels frustrated at times. So if you recognise any of those qualities within yourself, I'm sure you probably recognise at least one of them, then this next activity might help you a little bit. What I'm going to get you to think about, and I'm going to ask Tim to come around with some paper, or you can use the back of your paper if you want, but there's some lined paper. I want you to think about, this is a really good coaching activity that you can do if you feel overwhelmed, frustrated, can't make a decision. I want you to think about what's coming up in your week ahead, okay? And okay, so yeah, think about what's coming up in your week ahead. Maybe you've got a work thing or a social thing, whatever, but the week ahead has got lots in it coming up. And I'd like you to just very quickly make a list of everything you've got to do over the next week. What's in your mind? It might be something like, I've got to put the bins out tomorrow because it's Thursday. It might be, I've got to go and collect something from the library. Or it could be, I've got to take the car to the garage. Anything. I just want you to make a list of at least 10 things that you have got to do over this week.
So did you say 10?
Yeah, at least 10 things.
What if that leads to overwhelm?
Well, then this coaching activity is going to help you. That's the point of it. It's all about how to reduce overwhelm. And this is an experience that we all have. I know I have it when I sit down at my desk to start my work day, and I think, oh, all the things I've got to do, and I write them all down. I can't imagine anybody's got nothing to do this week.
How do you deal with if you've got like 66 things on your list?
Well, Well, hopefully this activity is going to help you, but it's really good to like brain dump it all down. And you know, if you can get into this practice, it's going to really help you. Okay?
I find if you actually write things down to remind yourself you do remember them.
You do, or you don't?
You do.
You do. Good.
Write things on paper that you do.
Yeah, it's something about the process, isn't it, of head to pen and that sort of physical. So hopefully you've got some things on your list. Even if you've only got 5 or 6, that's okay, because I'm sure you'll think of some more. What's the most important thing on your list? Is it easy or hard for you to identify? For some of you it might be easy, for some of you it might be really hard, okay? I know for me personally, when I have a lot to do, like you said, I go into a state of overwhelm and I think, I don't know what to do first. And then that makes me feel frustrated, like gives me a lack of clarity. I think, oh, I'm not going to do any of it because there's too much, so I'll just do something, I'll put the TV on instead. That's not really very good for my well-being. So what we're going to do is think about how you identify that. So what I'd like you to do is you can divide a piece of paper into 4, and I want you to just think about these 4 topics. What is urgent on that list? What is essential? If you don't do that thing, is the world going to stop? Okay, or is somebody going to be let down, or is someone going to be left bleeding or dying if you don't do that thing? What can you actually put off? And what can you delegate or get rid of? Okay, so what's urgent, what's essential, what can you put off, and what can you delegate and get rid of? And then I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about which categories you're going to put your week's things to do in, okay? Give you another minute just to think about that. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't do all of them, just as long as you go through a little bit of this process.
Why do we procrastinate?
Well, that's a very good question, why we procrastinate. For some people, procrastination is fear. They don't actually want to do it because they're afraid of how good they might be at something. That's one interesting one. Another one is overwhelm, because perfectionism, self-esteem. There's lots of different reasons. There's actually one of our coaching books on the course has a whole chapter on procrastination as a topic, and in the coaching space, procrastination is a big thing to work with. So hopefully you managed to find a column for each of those things. Did anything surprise anybody about a realization you had when you actually categorized them? Yes, Sophie?
Yeah, I never delegate anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm just control freak doing it.
Right. So what one small action might you take following that activity?
Keep on nagging for them to do the cleaning.
Mm-hmm. Maybe, yeah. We could think about it, or try and think about how you could put that responsibility onto them, perhaps. Gentleman at the back, did you have your hand up, or no? You okay? Anybody else? Anything surprised them about that process?
I think I don't think any of them are essential.
Okay.
or urgent.
Yeah, good.
Ongoing lists that I constantly have, and actually I could put them all off for quite a long time.
And then how does that emotion feel now that you feel, actually, I've relieved myself of that pressure?
Yeah, I feel quite tired.
Yeah, so you can have some time for other activities, which is great, isn't it? That's going to improve your well-being. Anybody else? Yes. Yeah, yes.
So I can see your hand maybe. I have two friends, one of which has got Parkinson's, which is rapidly developing, and another one's had a stroke. He's lost virtually all his eyesight, can only see in black and white, and he's at home on his own in a 3-bedroom, 3-floor townhouse, which is a problematical thing as well. And I make a point of ringing them on a regular basis to check up and see how they are. I do put myself under pressure to do that, and try and find a space in my so-called busy life to do that. Because I let them download a week and a half an hour.
Yeah, okay. So how did that fit into those columns for you? Did that feel essential for you to do that?
It is essential.
Yeah.
They're but for the grace of God, go on, as they say.
Yeah, okay. And so by putting that in the essential column, did you realise that something else maybe wasn't as important?
No, I've got it rationalised. I'm not very well aware it's my choice to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not being forced to do it. It's my choice to do it.
Okay.
It's a friend in me, he's a friend indeed.
Yeah. So that helps you align your values then, doesn't it? In terms, which is
as well.
Yeah, great.
And afterwards, and you think,
Yeah.
well, my cup is half full, not half empty.
So this, I'll come to you in a minute. So this kind of activity can really help. What feels important to you? What excites supports your values as a human being. Really, something like this. Was a question over there?
No, I was going to say there are quite a few things on our list that we really need to get rid of.
Yes.
Because they're not urgent, they're not essential.
Yeah.
And we can't put them all. Yes, but we hold on to them, and if only we can get rid of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Once I had about 70 things on my list. What I did was I just got rid of all of them, and then whatever came back, I took that as important or essential.
And how did it feel when you got rid of those
Relief.
things? Yeah, which has got to be amazing for your mental health, hasn't it? Yeah. So something simple like doing a wheel of life at the start of a week and making a list of what you've got coming up and then prioritising whether things are important. This is actually working to improve your well-being because you're thinking about what's important for you and what's going on for you. Okay.
There's a very famous song by Paul McCartney and the Beatles, Let It Be. And I take the lyrics of that song and I say that to myself, but it's something building up and you think, hold on, let it be, let it go. I'll let it stand there and I'll deal with that later.
That's a nice way. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so now we're going to think about another way to improve your well-being, and that is by measuring your wellness. And there's different ways of doing this. I'm sure some of you are, all of you are aware that technology has changed so much in the last 20 years that now we can use technology to self-coach and improve our well-being. You can track your own BMI, you can track your cholesterol, your weight, your blood pressure, all by using technology you've got one of the rings, have you? An Aura ring. So if you wear the ring, it does all that and sends it to your phone? Yeah, great. So an app on his phone where he can do that. I've got a watch which has got a step tracker on it, so I know how many steps I'm doing a day, so I know whether I need to do a little bit more exercise in the day, and I find that's good for me. So it's about finding ways that support on your wheel of life. If you want to do more exercise, how you might do that. But the thing with coaching is you can collect all those numbers, but if you don't do anything with them, it is a bit futile. So again, maybe tracking on a weekly, monthly, whatever basis for you is a great way of setting yourself goals that you can work towards. So it may be if you're someone who's never done a lot of walking in your life before, but you want to train for a marathon, for example, you're not just going to suddenly go out and run your 26 miles. You're going to build up incrementally, so you would set yourself some wellness goals around staging, something like that. So we can also scale, and you've done a little bit of scaling already because you've scaled on the wheel of life, but checking in with yourself and asking, okay, how do I feel today? but then how might I feel better? What do I need to do to make myself feel a little bit better? And it doesn't have to be jumping from a 0 to a 10. It might be jumping from a 0 to a 1. What does a 1 look like? What does a 5 feel like for me? So just leaning into that and thinking about this. So tracking your own wellness depends on your technology you're using. You can use pen and paper in the old-fashioned way, or you can invest in lots of technologies that are out there. There's so much. It's actually quite overwhelming, but pick something that works for you and that feels right.
I find that really is useful. It's based on the concept that when you know you're being watched,
Yeah.
you behave differently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's called the Hawthorne effect. So if you're being observed, suddenly you behave differently, good
Yeah.
or bad.
Yeah.
So when you know, all the tracking, your BMI, your cholesterol,
Yeah.
your weight, blood pressure, suddenly you behave differently. You eat properly, eat more healthily.
Yeah.
Does it
try
not
and lose
stress you
weight.
out a bit though as well?
Yeah, it does stress as well.
Yeah. There's pros and cons. Yeah, absolutely.
So like the aura actually like today has monitored my stress levels
Yeah.
today. So the idea is that if your stress goes up, later on you reflect on what happened then.
Yes.
And then change it.
Yeah,
This is something,
brilliant.
Was it driving? Was it?
Yeah.
Then change it.
Yeah.
So you do more of the things that get you into a relaxed state.
Yeah.
Meditation, breath work, or as against meeting someone you don't want to meet.
And that's great. So you're constantly self-coaching yourself
Yeah,
because of that technology. Whereas for me, that approach isn't going to work because I don't like being hooked up to technology all the time. So my watch isn't connected to an app because I don't like to be connected to Bluetooth all the time.
I'm sleeping much better since I started to use.
So we're all different, aren't we? Which is why the world is a wonderful place, because what works for one doesn't work for another. But coaching enables the coach, when you're working with a client, to really focus on individualism, and what works with that individual, whereas it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. Okay, so we're going to do another activity now, and this one is called the hot cross bun method, and this is a really good activity for you to take some time and reflect in much more depth over. So what I would like you to first of all think about is think of something recently that has really stressed you out. Okay? We've all probably got lots of things going on. It might be an exam you took. It might be a family get-together that was coming up. It might be my husband had a job interview last week. So, something like that. Or it may be just the thought of an upcoming birthday. But I want you to just write down the thing that really stresses you out. Okay? Does anybody need any more paper? We're going to be drawing a picture like this on a piece of paper. So does anybody need any more paper? Well, I'm just getting you to think about something stressful. There you go. Anybody else? Yes. That's all right. Okay, has everyone got something stressful? Good. Okay. So what this activity does, it allows you to basically transfer stress into positivity. So we're doing something called cognitive behavioural coaching, which is about reframing something negative, and we're going to turn it into something positive. Okay?
It's called cognitive.
Cognitive behavioural coaching. Okay? CBC. Okay? Right. So I'd like you now. Well, I'm going to talk you through an example, and then I'm going to get you to do the same. So whenever we're involved in something stressful, we have 4 reactions to it. Those 4 reactions are physiological response, a behavioural response, an emotional response, and a mental response.
Sorry to be thick, could you just define physiology?
Well, I'm going to give an example, so hopefully that will, but it's how your body reacts to something. Okay? So let's think of an example. So I'm going to imagine that I am going to sit an exam, okay? I'm finding it very stressful, and physiologically, my body is getting really tight. My stomach is churning, okay? I might be feeling quite hot and sweaty. That's how my body is responding to that. Emotions are frustration, anxiety, nervousness. Those are the emotions that I am having, and I'm feeling quite scared about the process of taking an exam. My behaviours are that I'm becoming withdrawn. Okay, I don't want to talk to anybody because I'm really nervous about this exam. So I've stopped talking to people, I've stopped eating. Okay, those are some of my behaviours. Mentally, I'm telling myself I'm really stupid and I'm not going to pass the exam. Okay, that I'm a failure before I've even sat it. Now, I don't know if any of those feelings or thoughts or behaviours or emotions sound familiar to you, but often when people are in stressful situations, they exhibit some of those kind of responses. So what I would like you to do is I'd like you to think about that situation that you're feeling stressed about, and I'm going to ask you, what does it provoke within you? So really sort of go into yourself and think, with that situation, how am I feeling? How am I talking to myself? How am I responding? And I'd like you to write those things down, okay? Has everybody got something in each, or do you need a little bit longer? Okay. So I'm not going to ask anybody to share about their stressful situation, because I don't think that's right to do that. But I am going to just say, I forgot to say, it's called the hot cross bun method, because it's a circle with 4 currant buns in it. Okay, just so that you remember that. But what you can see is that your physical symptoms affect your behaviours, and your behaviours affect your moods, and your moods affect your emotions, and it's all interlinked within the same thing. So, how we're responding to stress all impacts everything else, okay? So now I'm going to ask you the question, how would you like to feel instead? So for me, before an exam, I would like to feel relaxed. I'd like to feel light. I'd like to feel confident. I'd like to feel happy and excited about it. I'd like to be telling myself, come on, Jo, you've got this. You're going to pass. You're going to come out with flying colours. That's what I want to be doing, okay? So I want you to think now about that stressful situation and how do you want it to go? And how are you going to respond in each of those 4 ways? This is your dream version of that situation. some people, this positivity is actually harder to think about than the stressful usual way that we respond. So you may notice that a little bit about yourself and how you're finding it harder to think how you want ideally something to go. So we're now going to look at this. How would you like to feel, and what action can you take to get yourself to that positive hot cross bun? Because I can tell you that nobody is going to come and save you to do this. You've got to do the work yourself. Only you can coach yourself through this. So what are you going to do to make yourself feel better physiologically? For example, if I want to feel light and less stressed, in my stomach before an exam, maybe I'm not going to have such a big breakfast the morning before my exam. I'm going to have something light, and that's something I can choose to do. I'm not going to tell myself that I'm going to fail it before I've done it. I'm going to set myself a little reminder on my phone, or I'm going to put a post-it on my front door as I leave the door, so that it says, come on, you're going to do really well today. So those are things that I can do that will leave me in a positive way. So I'd like you to just write down what you're going to do. I'd like you to do this time, I don't necessarily want you to share the stress with your partner next to you, but what I would like you to just do is talk to them for a couple of minutes on what you have, what surprised you about your response to that activity. Did you find it easy? Was it challenging? What have you learned about yourself from reframing something that you usually find quite stressful? So I'm going to give you some time to just chat to your neighbour about the process of doing that activity. Okay? How did you find that, Tim? All right? How did you find that?
Yes, it's sort of things that are sort of floating around in a sort of disorganised fashion, falling into place to say, well, okay, put that one first, then do that, then do that,
yeah.
And hopefully the result will be that,
yeah.
Rather than it all being sort of just, in a state of flux.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
It's in my case, it's dealing with my cat.
Oh, okay.
I have to have a different reaction to refusal of food.
Oh, yeah, and that pulls on your heartstrings. Yeah.
Because I lost one of her sister last year, so and she went through similar digestive problem. Well, she had a digestive problem. This one's the one that's left is fine, but it sort of triggers all the feelings of concern and grief still.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just about sort of being more accepting, staying calm, not getting across, frustrated.
Managing your emotions, isn't it? And it's so hard when it's a pet.
It's really also for the years, especially put the food down. Cats came, ate it. Later on in the day, he did the same. It was just like clockwork. But now, and I think it's because there's only me and the cat. She is very, very. Well, I'm not going to eat it here. I'm going to go and walk over there. You've got to bring it to me. If I feel like it, I might eat it. Well, I might go upstairs. You've got to bring my food upstairs.
So it's changing how you respond, isn't it?
it's not getting into a tiz about it, really, because, I mean, she's fine, just had a vet check-up this week, you know, she's steady, you know.
And then you can feel like, why did I worry all that time? And then they're fine, can't you? So,
I think it's because it still triggers off the feelings about losing the person.
I can imagine,
And that's still amazingly raw after 4 or 5 months.
I know, I lost a dog last year, so I understand it's emotional,
It's very, I think, very useful to put down, you know, the order. For example, if there are various places where she will always end up and then she'll eat there, which is usually sitting on a radiator, somewhere nice and warm, go there first. Rather than chase around after all.
And it's funny, isn't it?
Wait for you at the radiator. You can come here if you want. You know?
Good, okay. Okay, we're talking.
So mine's actually not.
We're probably going to finish by definitely by 1:30. So just so that you know that. Okay, we finish about 9:30. I think we finished about 9:30. It's 15:15 now.
That's absolutely fine. It takes us, if you want to be around for people to speak on,
I will. I will.
Because we don't have to be out of here.
Okay.
We've got till 10:30.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a bit of packing up. We usually say when we finish, please stack your chair for us.
Okay. Right.
Otherwise, it's just putting your own bits and bobs away.
Okay, should we just come back together? If we were just can end that conversation, and you might want to carry it on at the end if it was a particularly inspiring one. How did anybody find that process then of reframing something from negative to positive? Would anyone like to?
Liked it. It kind of took me out of my own overwhelm.
Okay.
And I was just saying, so I was basically talking about my mum's health.
Yeah.
And I think I've been stuck in a bit of paralysis around it. And doing that process kind of made me think, I could actually look up stuff online or phone an organisation to get more information. And instantly I feel better.
Good. Yeah, good.
Yeah, that's a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
So that was really good, thank you.
That's all right. So it sounds like it's been enlightening and empowering for you. Great. Just
instantly, I'm like, I have a direction to travel in, and
good.
what I found out I can share with my family, which I think will help them as well.
Yeah.
And it might even help my mum.
Good. I'm pleased to hear that. Anybody else like to share anything about that process of reframing? Well, it's an interesting process to go through, isn't it? Because yes, Tim.
I think the thing for me, as I discussed with you, was in the situation there's lots of different possibilities that are just swirling around in a very disorganised way. And by thinking, well, if I put them in this order, and actually getting it into some sort of semblance of order, that's going to work a lot better than just going any old way.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's essentially what that process did.
Yes.
It was like it gave me step 1, and then from there there's step 2, step 3.
Yeah.
I wanted to open up a conversation with my family around some adaptations at home. Step 1's going to allow me to do that really easily.
Good.
So I totally agree. It's that kind of.
It's like a logical process, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, good. And I think naming how you feel is really powerful. A lot of times we're encouraged to not worry about it. Don't say how you feel. Brush it under the carpet. That's very much the English way of dealing with things. But it doesn't work for your health and well-being. It's particularly your mental health. So sitting quietly and just saying, actually, this is how I'm feeling, whether you do it privately in a book or just internally, is actually a really powerful way of then thinking, well, how do I want to feel? And I know from sort of doing this work and teaching the students, a lot of people don't actually ask themselves, how would I prefer to feel than how I'm actually feeling now? Because it's easy to sit in the negativity and dwell on it, rather than try to find a solution ourselves. And we can reframe pretty much anything if we just train ourselves to do it. So this is a really simple way. So next time you eat hot cross bun, remember it, okay? Last thing we're going to talk about is journaling as a self-coaching tool. Journaling may be something that you've heard of. It may be something you've never heard or never tried before. It's a really powerful way to improve your health, and there are over 100 benefits of journaling for improving health. There's so many studies written on it, and there are official studies particularly done into the improvement of arthritis and asthma as a result of journaling. So those are two that I could, share with you. Has anyone in here done any journaling before and used it as we've got a few hands, a few hands going up.
So what do you call journaling? What do you mean?
Writing down your thoughts.
I keep a permanent list with blue tack on the wall.
Good.
Good.
Good. That's the kind of, that's a good, list making is good, but free flow writing is actually really powerful. So maybe that's like keeping a diary or just writing how you're feeling about something. Lists and bullet points can be a really good point.
I've got a facts diary on my desk.
Brilliant.
Old style.
Good.
Different highlights for different things.
Good. Excellent. And that's a great way into this.
Again, it's just because I know I'll forget otherwise.
Yeah, well, but it's a way of offloading and just, stops you worrying. Yeah, brilliant. So we're going to do a little, yes, Eleni.
Question. Does a book, like a mindfulness book where it's got like little daily questions, does that count?
Absolutely, yeah, because they've often got really good sentence starters in them, or good sort of topics that you can journal on. So it may just have a section on how you're feeling physically or what's stressing you out today. So yeah, any kind of process that enables you to reflect and go inwards is a great self-coaching tool. So I thought we'll have a little go at some journaling now. Again, if anybody needs any more paper, I've got some, and I'm going to pass, if I just pass it down, and maybe you could pass it some to Eleni and anybody else. So I've got a journaling sentence starter that I'd like you to look at, and it says, yesterday I was proud of. And I'd just like to, anybody else need any more? I'd like you to just, I'm going to give you 90 seconds to just complete that sentence and write whatever you want about something yesterday that you were proud of. So yeah, yesterday was Tuesday.
Journaling until about last year. It's called it's called What Went Well.
Oh, good, yeah, nice.
So every night I will write what went well during the day.
Mm-hmm. Good, yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's all about gratitude as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Bullet journaling.
Bullet journaling, that's another form as well.
Yeah, I don't really understand how it works.
Bear with me one second, we've got about 5 seconds, and then I'm going to ask you to put your pen down, if you're still right. Okay, so that was 90 seconds. That's the first part. Second sentence, today I was present for. Okay, again, 90 seconds. Today I was present for. Complete that sentence. That's fine. There's no rules. Okay. Okay. And then the third and the final one. Tomorrow I am excited about. Okay. Tomorrow I am excited about, or excited to. So you've had a go at 3 different sentence starter activities in journaling. Journaling is great for, like you said, for expressing gratitude, for writing, for abundance, to bring abundance to you. It's great for offloading, clearing your head. Did anyone feel anything while they were doing that activity? Did anyone have any sort of surprises or revelations from just starting those sentences off? How did it feel? Anyone like to share anything?
I suppose I had quite a lot to write. When you tend to focus more on problems, what you're trying to change, and then you're thinking, actually, there's all these good things.
Yeah.
That was quite nice.
Yeah, it's quite reaffirming, isn't it, to do that. Anybody else? Anybody else want to share anything about the process?
I found that question yesterday I was proud of, quite hard to answer, actually.
Yeah. It was the hardest one for many, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I found that quite, and I was quite surprised in that.
Yeah, because we do find it harder, don't we, to think about something that we've done well than something maybe we're excited about. So, that we can learn a lot about ourselves and what we're looking forward to and what's bothering us. And if you think that was only sort of 5 minutes worth of writing that you actually did. So when we do some journaling courses at Wellness Professionals, we often say to people, write for 6 minutes, because 6 minutes is a really good time to enable yourself to really explore a topic. You can write so much more in 6 minutes than you actually think, and the health benefits are huge. So maybe for you, that might be something that you could do as part of your daily or weekly routine. You don't have to journal every day. You don't have to have a fancy notebook. You can do it on a scrappy bit of paper, and then file it in the bin if you want to afterwards. But it's all about the process of getting what's in your head out and freeing yourself from what's actually bothering you. Okay. So the final thing we're going to do is, from today, you've probably been thinking lots about everything that's going on in your life and how you can begin to use coaching in your own life to start to improve your well-being. So I would like you to just think now, what is your one wellness goal that you're going to take from today's session with me? And I want you to make it SMART. I don't know if anyone's heard about SMART goals before, but it's quite a well-known acronym, but SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So I'm going to give you an example. If I said to myself, I'd love to read more books, then that really isn't a SMART goal, because there's no sense of urgency or anything about it. But if I say I'd like to read 1 book every week this year, and I'm going to give myself a couple of hours every evening to do it, I've made that goal SMART, because it's a specific goal. I'm going to read 1 book every week. It's measurable, because I know I can count them, I can make a list. It's attainable if I give myself a couple of hours every night to do it, so therefore it's realistic. And the time bound is that I've set myself a goal within a year. Okay? So I'd like you to think of 1 thing that you would like to achieve as a wellness goal, and write it down for yourself. Now, I'm not going to ask you to share your goals, because I think they might be personal, or you may not feel comfortable doing so. But what I am going to ask you is, how are you going to hold yourself accountable to doing that? And that's the bit that I want you to think about. So are you going to tell a friend? Are you going to put it in your diary? Are you going to make sure somebody knows this so that they can keep asking you, have you done that thing yet? Have you done it? Have you done it? How are you getting on? Or is it just something that you're going to do? Yes.
I know my friend at the back didn't want anything to do with Yara, but one of my goals is to have 8 hours sleep every night. Yeah. Now that measures my sleep. Yeah. So it tells me if I had just 6 hours sleep, and the quality of the sleep, sleep stability, things like that. So if I haven't gone to bed, let's say by 12 midnight, it will tell me the next morning. If I woke up to like 5 a.m., it will tell me. Yeah. So I hold myself accountable to that. And he tells me, sorry.
Is that not stressing you out?
No, it doesn't. Actually, that's the thing. I'm not, thankfully, not hypochondriac. But yeah, and so I have something that I can be accountable to. And that's
brilliant.
That's the
Good.
On there. So I know how much sleep I've had in the last 3 months. Yeah. An average, a week, a day, a month. And I think it's so powerful. Good.
Well, it sounds like a very smart goal. Yeah. Then you're holding yourself accountable, and you've got the technology to back you up. Yeah. Good. So, just move to the last slide. If you want to find out a little bit more about me and my work, it's wellnessprofessionalsatwork.com, and there's a QR code. If you scan it, you'll go to my website. But before we finish, I'd just like to ask, has anybody got any questions at all about the topics I've been covering?
You've got a journaling workshop.
I have, yes. So we're doing a journaling workshop tomorrow, lunchtime, and that's £29, and it's 1 till 2:30. So we offer training, various training at Wellness Professionals at Work, and those are courses in coaching, wellness coaching, resilience coaching, life coaching, as well as offering a journaling qualification and some journaling workshops. So, if you want to have a look on my website, it's all on there. Thank you. Any other guests?
Yeah, I was going to say, 12 years ago, I got a business coach. It's the best thing that happened to my business.
Brilliant.
Because she, I meet her every 3 months, and we go through, all the challenges and successes and all that stuff. And that's where I learned about the wheel of life and all that stuff. And, it's the best thing. And so I'll urge, anyone to get a coach.
Get a coach or coach yourself. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it's working with a coach is a really powerful experience, because we often get in our own way, don't we? And I'm sure you noticed that from the hot cross bun. Yeah. We can all get in our own way all the time, no matter who we are, what we do for a living. So holding yourself accountable and getting somebody else, like having an accountability buddy, can be really good as well. Gentleman at the back, you had a question.
Yes, I'm interested as a wellbeing coach yourself. If I was a genie with a magic lantern and I gave you 3 wishes for yourself for wellbeing in the future, what would they be?
Oh, for me, my wellbeing in the future.
3 wishes.
3 wishes. Wow, gosh, I wasn't expecting that question. So.
He's not a genie, honestly.
No. Well, I think I'd like to see more. I'd like to see everyone taking responsibility for their own well-being. That would be one. I'd like to see equitable healthcare for all, and I'd like people to feel aligned with their sense of purpose, so that they, really felt that they were doing good work and for a community. I think that would, and for others. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
If someone came to see you and wants help with finding their life's purpose, how would you help them?
That's a very good question. Yeah, so in the coaching space, a lot of time is taken up exploring where people are right now, what it is that's making them unhappy, what the challenges are, what the obstacles are as well. And then coaching is all about asking open questions that inspire the coachee to find their own answers. You inspire them to have their own answers. So we're never telling somebody, oh, have you thought about this? You should try that. We're saying, how might you approach that yourself? So the honest answer is, it would depend what the coachee, the person I'm working with, throws up in the session, really. Because it's fascinating. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own desires and things they put in their own way to get there.
What would you see is the main difference between counselling and coaching?
So on a simplistic level between coaching and counselling, if you were to imagine like a Venn diagram where there's two circles, so the big grey area in the middle, that middle area is where coaching and counselling sit together. Counselling on the whole is exploring an issue usually that's happened in the past, or something that's troubling someone now, but they want to explore it and talk about the effects of it and how they're processing it. Whereas coaching is about moving somebody forwards and putting things into action. But there is this grey area in between where often in coaching you have to go back to understand why somebody behaves and is acting the way they do, and sometimes in counselling you have to look forwards to see how they might be affected in the future by what's happened. So it's like a Venn diagram, really. Does that answer your question?
Yeah,
there's lots written. There's a lot written on it, and essentially in coaching and counselling you're holding space for somebody, giving them that time to talk about it, but the coaching dynamic is very much, how are you going to move forwards from that? What actions are you going to take to get out that?
A bit like CBT.
Yes, absolutely. So CBT and CBC, cognitive behavioural therapy or coaching, are very, very similar. Okay, yeah. Yes.
I apologise if it's a stupid question, but with the exponentially increasing AI, stem cell medical research and slimming drugs, etc.,
yes,
coming down the line very fast now, and they've just been announced that GPs are being encouraged to prescribe.
Yeah.
Will that affect the approach to wellbeing and how you approach that, and the whole encompassing of it within your field, basically?
That's an interesting question. So, like weight loss jabs and how they will affect natural and complementary health. Yeah.
It's going to be an excuse not to look after yourself.
Absolutely. So I think we're going to see the world go two ways. I think we're going, and it's always been like that, to be honest with you. There are going to be people who don't want to take any responsibility for their health and they want a quick fix. And yes, that offers that. And there are going to be those that want to look after their own health and be more proactive and do things themselves. However, there's a place to do both together.
What I've been arguing about on the radio is that I think the GP should say you have to attain a certain fitness level, whatever that level is set at, before you can then have the slimming drugs.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Just everyone goes and gets a slimming drug and basically bags of crisps, basically.
Yeah, but there is a time and a place to integrate natural medicine and coaching alongside taking the drugs. So, integrative medicine is all about weaving the two in together. So,
but do you think it will affect how you approach, how you diagnose and approach wellbeing generally going forward?
Not necessarily, no, because there's always been quick fixes for so many other things as well. Like HRT, for example, is an example of a pharmaceutical that you can suppress symptoms, but if you work on those symptoms, you can still help support women who need that as well.
It's also that it's moving exponentially faster. It's like a roll.
Oh, I know. Yeah, absolutely.
You're going to have to be adapting quicker and quicker, aren't you?
Yeah. It keeps the job alive and fresh. Yeah. Any other questions before we leave? Yes, Tim.
With regard to the tech aspect and the Ring apps on phones, do you do much remote coaching?
We do. Yeah, and the training we do is online as well. And I think coaching as sort of a modality is great for online work. So you can sit down and work with a coach online, and then get back on with the rest of your day. So it's quite nice to do that. But then there's nothing beats sitting in person with somebody and having that sort of human connection. So there's both work.
I was having the sort of image of John's sleep, for example, being automatically sort of downloaded to his coach.
Yeah,
the coach
wow.
coming back and saying, feeding back by watching, like it might be blood pressure, because my blood pressure machine can talk to practice, and.
But I think if I see the numbers, I think that's the thing that maybe is more of like a future GP role, isn't it? To kind of have that access. I don't know.
There are actually coaches linked with the app. So when something's not going right, the app will suggest coaches that you could work with to coach you through what you're going through.
Great.
Yeah, there's a bit there. I think they called it symptom radar. It tells you a couple of days before you actually get a cold, because it monitors your body temperature. So then it will warn you to go and see your GP or.
The future of healthcare is fascinating, isn't it? And there are so many jobs like this coming up on LinkedIn for coaches to work online now. But it's a good point. Let's see how it evolves. And I think the most important for me, though, is that you go away feeling that you have ownership of your own health and well-being, and that you can do these activities, checking in with yourself, and then that supports you in taking this sort of sense of sovereignty about your own well-being.
I actually have a friend, just talking about AI, her mum passed away unexpectedly after racial illness last year. But she's using ChatGPT to help her get back to eating healthily and helping her with her mental health, because she's dealing with grief. So she basically put into chat, this is what's happened to me. This has been the consequence to my health and my energy levels, and she put in a couple of other parameters. And chat has helped her with a food plan, a menu plan. It's helped her with, what kind of exercise she would like to do. Hers is mainly walking, so how often she needs to go for a walk and about how long and how many. I don't think it said how many steps, it's more about time and going regularly. And when she's struggling, she goes back to chat and says, I'm struggling today. Chat gives her like a little pep talk.
Brilliant.
And it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's great. And as long as she's hopefully backing that up by checking in with a health professional like a GP, I think that's the most important thing. Yes, AI can do that, and it's wonderful, isn't it? But, we have to also think about the reliability of AI, who's programmed it in the first place, what's their agenda, so you have to be careful.
AI is getting so clever, it will suggest you go and see your doctor. It will.
Good. It's amazing, and it's fabulous for self-coaching, so use it. It's great that your friend is using it as a starting point. Brilliant. Yes?
Very quick question. Journaling, you've just got it with one L. Now, if you're working age benefits, you have to fill in an online journal, and then it's a double L. Is it just the same word?
It's the same word, it's the same word, and one L is correct, but thank you for raising that.
I do as little as I have to, but with your journaling.
Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for having me tonight. Thank you.